Hey everyone, welcome to AI Labs. So, guess what? The DeepSeek R1 has officially been launched. You might remember that earlier we got a look at the DeepSeek R1 Lite model, but now we finally have the full-fledged DeepSeek R1 model. In this video, we're going to be diving into testing the DeepSeek R1 model with a variety of reasoning prompts to see if it actually stacks up against the ChatGPT 1 model. So make sure to stick around. The model comes with fully open weights and an MIT license, which means it's not only open source, but also commercially usable. You can access it directly on the DeepSeek chat platform, and it's also available via an API. I'll make sure to leave the links for that in the description below. But that's not all. There are also distilled versions of the model, including smaller ones like Qwen and Llama. These have been fine-tuned using synthetic data generated from the R1 model, and they perform remarkably well too. So there are basically two main models in this lineup, the DeepSeek R1 and the DeepSeek R10. The R1 model is kind of the star of the show. It's fully optimized and fine-tuned to align with chat preferences, which makes it perfect for general use. Now, on the flip side, the R10 model is like a stripped-down version of the R1, but that's actually intentional. It's specifically designed for those who want to fine-tune the model themselves, or maybe use it for research purposes. The DeepSeek R1 model is honestly a total game changer, packing in a massive 671 billion parameters. It's built on the same base as DeepSeek V3, but it's been optimized specifically for chain of thought reasoning and advanced problem solving. And here is the really fascinating part. Only around 37 billion of those parameters are actually activated at any given time, which is pretty much on par with how DeepSeek V3 operates. What's even crazier is the lineup of 6 smaller distilled models that DeepSeek has developed. These models are fine-tuned using synthetic data generated by the R1, and they really pack a punch. I mean, we're talking about models like Qwen 1.5b, Qwen 7b, 8b, and a few others, all designed to deliver impressive performance while being way more compact. This is honestly so mind-blowing, especially when you think about how much effort DeepSeek is putting into optimizing these models. It really shows that they care deeply about the user experience and are absolutely not holding back. When it comes to performance, the DeepSeek R1 really seems to be holding its own against OpenAI's O1, and in some cases, it even manages to outperform it. And let's not forget about the distilled models. They're no slouch either. In fact, the Llama 3.3 model actually goes a step further and surpasses the O1 Mini. Yep, you heard that right. It's shaping up to be a serious contender. Just like you'd expect from DeepSeek, the API is ridiculously cheap. The model only costs 55 cents for input and $2.19 for output, which honestly is pretty insane. For some perspective, O1 costs a whopping $15 for input and $60 for output. And here's the kicker. The R1 model is completely free on their chat platform instead of costing $200. It's actually even cheaper than Sonnet, which is honestly mind-blowing. Alright, so without any further wait, let's jump right into testing with the DeepSeek R1 model. As I mentioned earlier, you'll need to enable the Deep Think option, which will activate the DeepSeek R1 model. Once that's all set up, we can start with the questions. Here are the questions we'll be using, and we'll go through them one by one, marking the status as we go. Let's go ahead and start with the first question. I'll copy it and provide it to DeepSeek. You can see that it's starting to process the input now. What's interesting is that it's going through the countries one by one, even doubting itself at times and double-checking before coming to a conclusion. In the end, it gave us two examples, Pakistan with its capital city and Kazakhstan with its capital city. So this question passes, and we'll go ahead and mark it as a pass. Now, moving on to the next question, which is asking about a number that rhymes with the word weight. Again, if you take a look, you can see the model's thought process at work. It's concluded that the number 8 rhymes with weight. So we'll go ahead and mark this question as a pass as well. Now, let's move on to the next question, which is asking to write a haiku, where the second letter of each word spells black. I'll copy it and paste it here. Once again, it's processing. And what's really fascinating about this model, just like O1, is that you can actually see it thinking in real time. You can observe how it begins by understanding what the user wants, then tries to spell out the letters of black. attempting to place them as the second letter of each word. It's still working through the process, but it looks like it wasn't able to follow the instructions completely. Instead of placing the second letter correctly, it used the first letter, which is obviously incorrect. So we'll go ahead and mark this one as a fail. Next, we have a reasoning question. Let's see if it can compute how many oranges are left. The model took a more realistic approach here. Now the correct answer should have been 4, considering the juice was half drunk. But the model reasoned that since the oranges were converted into juice, they were no longer oranges. It concluded that there should be 2 whole oranges left instead. Given this reasoning, we'll go ahead and mark it as a pass. Now, we have a problem related to words. Let's see if it can solve this one. The model is actively trying out different words, analyzing them, and checking for errors like missing a specific letter or not meeting the 9-letter condition. Unfortunately, it wasn't able to find a word that satisfied all the conditions. There is a word that fits, but the model missed the final condition that the word must start with the same letters. So we'll go ahead and mark this one as a fail. Let's move on to another question. This one is a classic riddle we've all heard since childhood, so it's relatively easy for us, but can be a bit more challenging for large language models because of their reasoning limitations. The correct answer is 2 brothers. And guess what? The model got it right. So we'll go ahead and mark this one as a pass. Next, we have a question involving logic and math. It's often said that this model performs really well with math. So let's put it to the test. The correct answer here is 80, and the model nailed it. So we'll mark this one as a pass as well. Now, we have some coding related questions. The first task is to generate SVG code for a butterfly. For some reason, large language models often struggle with this, but recently, some models have made significant progress in generating clear and visually appealing butterflies. Let's see how DeepSeek R1 performs. It has generated the code, so I'll copy it, paste it into an SVG viewer, and check the result. Wow, this is actually really impressive. I haven't seen many models create such an artistic and detailed butterfly before. It truly excels at this, so we'll definitely mark it as a pass. A really cool pass. Just to compare, I had previously tested R1 Lite on this same problem, and it wasn't able to produce such a clear and visible butterfly. This is a remarkable improvement. Now, let's move on to creating a 3D cube that rotates continuously using a simple web development framework. Let's see how DeepSeek R1 performs with this one. So, as you can see, it generated the code for the rotating cube. Since it placed both the JavaScript and CSS code in a single HTML file, we'll open an HTML viewer in the browser and paste the code there. After pasting it, you can clearly see the cube it generated. What's even better is that it labeled each face of the cube to differentiate them, making it obvious that the cube is rotating. Given how well it demonstrated this functionality, we'll definitely mark this one as a pass. Next, we have a task where it needs to create an HTML page with a button that releases floating bubbles when clicked. While this might seem like a relatively simple task, AI models often fail at these basic tasks. Let's see how DeepSeek R1 performs. I'll copy the prompt and paste it into DeepSeek. Upon clicking the button, you can see it starting to think. This is actually pretty interesting because typically when you prompt an AI model, it instantly fetches the data and generates a response. But with DeepSeek R1 and OpenAI's O1 model, you can actually see them thinking and going through a process before they arrive at a solution. The model has completed its generation, and I just noticed something I missed earlier, a run HTML button. Let's test it out and see if the HTML file displays correctly. This is actually pretty cool. It opened up the HTML file directly within the model, similar to Claude Artifacts, where the component or code appears right in the chat window. Now let's check if it works. By clicking the button, we can see the bubbles appear and the code works perfectly. So we'll go ahead and mark this one as a pass as well. Now I'll close this and revisit the rotating cube to view it within the chat window as well. This looks really impressive. I just noticed something I didn't catch earlier. When I hover my mouse over the cube, it actually stops rotating. That's a nice touch. So with that, we conclude our testing. This model not only outperforms O1, but it also comes at an unbelievably low price. with open weights. Honestly, I can hardly believe it myself. What's even crazier is that it's cheaper than Sonnet, yet offers insane value. At this point, O1 and Sonnet are practically outdated. DeepSeek has really proven that open source models can deliver the same, if not better, results in just a fraction of the time. They've really set the bar high for OpenAI and Anthropic. And the best part? This model is available for free on their chat interface, not locked behind a $200 paywall. It's honestly mind-blowing. If you're interested in a comparison of the distilled models, let me know. I've got a feeling those will be just as impressive as this one.